Imagine standing before the largest fire ever built, so hot that birds couldn't fly over it without burning. In front of you, a young man is tied to a giant catapult, about to be hurled into the flames, yet his face shows no fear. This is not a tale of magic but of a real miracle, when the mighty King Nimrod tried to burn Prophet Ibrahim alive, and the fire itself was commanded by Allah to become cool and safe. What happened inside those flames is something that stunned an entire nation, and changed history forever. The city of Ur was a place where stone and gold were worshipped more than truth. Towering statues lined the streets, their lifeless eyes staring coldly at all who passed. The air was thick with the smoke of incense, carrying the heavy scent of offerings placed before gods that could neither hear nor speak. Men, women, and children bowed low before these silent figures, their foreheads pressed to the dusty ground, whispering prayers that vanished into emptiness. At the center of it all stood the grand temple, its polished marble floors gleaming under the sun, guarded by priests who protected not a god, but the pride of their king, Nimrod. This was a land where fear kept people obedient, where questioning the idols was unthinkable, and where truth was buried beneath centuries of blind devotion. Yet, in the midst of this deep darkness, a spark was about to ignite, a spark that would challenge the very foundation of their belief. Among the people of Ur lived a boy named Ibrahim, whose eyes carried more curiosity than fear. While others followed the customs without a thought, he would look up at the vast night sky, watching the stars sparkle like scattered jewels. One night, he gazed at a bright star and thought, "Could this be my Lord?" But when it faded into the darkness, he knew it could not be. Another night, the moon rose full and silver, bathing the land in a soft glow. "This must be my Lord," he thought, until it too sank below the horizon. Then came the sun, fierce and golden, yet even it disappeared. Ibrahim's young heart understood what the rest could not. Anything that disappears cannot be God. These thoughts settled deep within him, and a quiet fire of truth began to burn in his soul. The day came when Ibrahim could no longer keep his thoughts hidden. Standing among the people, he spoke with a calm but firm voice. "Why do you worship what cannot hear you, see you, or help you?" The crowd turned to stare at him, their faces a mix of surprise and anger. Some laughed, others whispered, and a few scowled in open hostility. His own father's face tightened with shame and fury. But Ibrahim did not waver. The truth had taken root in his heart, and fear had no place there. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of a mountain. These idols were nothing but carved stone, powerless before the true Creator. That moment marked the first crack in the silence of centuries. One day, the city's great festival drew everyone out of Ur, leaving the temple empty. Ibrahim saw his chance. Walking into the sacred hall, he looked at the towering idols, each carefully decorated with gold, gems, and rich fabrics. They stood frozen in their false glory, unable to stop what was about to happen. With an axe in his hand, Ibrahim struck down the smaller idols, their stone bodies shattering into pieces that scattered across the floor. Only the largest idol remained untouched. He placed the axe in its stone hands as if mocking the lie the people believed. Dust rose in the still air, and the silence of the temple felt like the moment before a storm. When the people returned, the storm would break. It did not take long for Ibrahim to be brought before King Nimrod himself. The ruler sat on his golden throne, his robe shimmering under the torchlight, his eyes cold with pride. "Did you do this to our gods?" he demanded. Ibrahim's reply was calm, almost disarming. "Ask the biggest idol. He has the axe in his hands, if he can speak." A murmur swept through the court. Nimrod's face darkened. He tried to boast about his own power, claiming to give life and death, but Ibrahim countered with a challenge. "Allah brings the sun from the east. Bring it from the west if you are truly powerful." The court fell silent. Nimrod had no answer, but his pride would not let him bend. In his heart, the king had been defeated, but his arrogance would soon turn to rage. The news of the broken idols spread like wildfire through the streets of Ur. Men shouted in anger, women wailed, and priests tore their garments in outrage. Crowds gathered in the marketplace, their voices rising in a furious chant, "Punish him! Burn him!" The air vibrated with rage as if the whole city had turned into one roaring beast. The shattered stones of their gods felt like a wound to their pride, and they wanted blood to heal it. Some threw curses at Ibrahim as he was led through the streets, yet he walked with a calm dignity, his eyes fixed on the sky rather than the faces of his accusers. When Nimrod heard the cries of his people, his pride flared hotter than any flame. He rose from his throne and declared with a voice that shook the hall, We will burn Ibrahim alive for all to see. Let this be a lesson to any who dare insult our gods." His words were met with wild cheers from the priests and the mob outside. It was not enough for Nimrod to silence Ibrahim. He wanted to destroy him in the most terrifying way possible. Messengers ran through the city, ordering everyone to bring wood for a fire greater than any ever seen before. This would not be a quick punishment, it would be a spectacle of power. 4 days and nights, the people dragged wood into the open plain outside the city. Farmers brought dry branches, merchants donated crates, and soldiers added whole tree trunks. Piles grew higher and higher until they blotted out the horizon. The dry wood crackled as it was stacked, waiting for the moment to be set alight. Even from far away, the smell of resin and bark filled the air. The city seemed united for the first time, not in peace but in preparing for the destruction of one man. All the while Ibrahim remained under guard, his face serene as though he knew something they did not. Alas, the day came. The massive pile of wood was set on fire, and flames leapt into the sky like fiery towers. The heat was so intense that no one could stand too close. The ground trembled with the fire's roar. Sparks danced in the air, carried by the wind, and the smoke rose in a thick, black column visible for miles. People from every corner of the kingdom came to watch, their eyes wide with both fear and excitement. Whispers ran through the crowd, no one could survive this. The air tasted of ash, and the earth itself seemed to shrink back from the furious blaze. The fire grew so fierce that no one could approach it to throw Ibrahim inside. So the king ordered the building of a massive wooden catapult. Workers toiled in the heat, their faces dripping with sweat, until the deadly machine was ready. Ibrahim was bound in strong ropes and placed onto it. Above the crackle of the fire, voices could be heard, angels, asking Allah for permission to help his prophet. But Allah, in his infinite power, answered that he alone would protect his servant. The catapult was pulled back, its ropes groaning under the strain, ready to hurl Ibrahim into what everyone believed would be his end. With a loud crack, the catapult released. Ibrahim soared through the air, his figure outlined against the wall of roaring flames. The crowd gasped as the heat rushed toward them, forcing some to shield their faces. The priests leaned forward, expecting to see him consumed before he even touched the ground. Time seemed to slow, each heartbeat echoing like a drum, as the prophet of Allah fell toward what should have been certain death. But his eyes were calm, his lips moving in silent remembrance of his Lord. In that very moment, the command of the Almighty descended, "O fire, be coolness and peace for Ibrahim." The words were not heard by human ears, but the fire heard them, and obeyed. Flames that moments ago had been wild and merciless suddenly gentled, as if a great wind of mercy had swept over them. Their roar softened, their heat vanished, and they curled around Ibrahim like harmless ribbons of light. The power of creation itself had bent to the will of its creator. When Ibrahim landed, it was not on burning wood but upon soft green grass. Around him bloomed flowers unlike any the earth had seen, petals bright with colors that seemed to glow from within. Cool streams trickled between the stones, and a breeze carried the scent of paradise. The fire still blazed high for all to see from the outside, but inside, it had become a garden of peace. Ibrahim stood tall and unshaken, his heart filled not with relief, but with gratitude to the one who had never left his side. Outside, the people stared in disbelief. The flames had burned fiercely for hours, yet Ibrahim emerged without so much as a thread of his clothing singed. The murmur of the crowd swelled into a wave of astonished gasps. Priests clutched their robes, eyes wide with fear, and even the soldiers stepped back as if they were seeing something beyond human understanding. For the first time, the proud city of Ur stood silent, not in reverence to their idols but in awe of the power of the true God. As the fire died down, Ibrahim walked forward, his steps steady and sure. The crowd parted before him, their eyes following him as if they expected him to disappear like a vision. Some hearts softened that day, the seeds of faith quietly planted by the miracle they had witnessed. But Nimrod turned away, his pride refusing to bend even before such a sign. Ibrahim left the place of his trial stronger than ever, his faith unbreakable, his mission clear. He had walked through the fire untouched, not because the flames had no power, but because the one who created them had commanded peace. And that truth would echo for generations to come.